Hey guys, welcome to a embroidery video of Sable from Animal Crossing. This is all hand done, and this is part 1 of the series I'm hoping to be doing about this hoop, just because it takes me a long time. So let's get into it. Here we are. So I'm starting out with the smallest parts of the face, and for that I start with the pupils, which are just a black color. I'm using DMC thread with, I believe, a Dritz brand tapestry needle, or perhaps an embroidery needle. I'm not really sure. I don't keep track of my needles because I have so many of them. So I'm just doing a simple satin stitch up and down vertically on each pupil. I like to start on the smallest parts of the face, like I said, because then the filler, which is the largest parts, are a little bit easier to do. This is a 4-inch embroidery hoop, so it's about the size of my palm, I suppose. I find that my embroidery stuff is a lot easier to do when it's on a smaller sized hoop. I find that a lot of really big designs just take a lot of time and aren't really that enjoyable to do, so I really enjoy doing small designs. So here I am at the back, just tying a knot. I usually loop it around a previous thread I've sewn about twice, and then I tie a double French knot, which is essentially just, I guess, threading the loop twice to make a French knot. I find that that is probably the best knot for embroidery. I think it's the easiest one to do, but of course, whatever preference you have is up to you. Here I am just filling in the whites of the eyes. I'm sorry this framing is so awful. I switch it a few times as I go on in the video, but of course right now you can barely see because my head is in the way. Did not know this was happening while I was recording, of course. But I kind of suspected. I was nervous while I was recording. I was like, damn, I hope that like what I'm doing can actually be seen. I have tried to record a lot of embroidery videos in the past. I think I've done it about 2 or 3 times, which is a lot for me because my embroidery takes me a long time to do, of course, because it's by hand. So I'm not totally sure I've got the hang of it yet, but I hope that this will be at least a little bit enjoyable to watch. Now I've moved on to the eyelids. I'm still using just a satin stitch, which is my favorite stitch. That and the split stitch or the stem stitch, those are probably my 3 favorites, the 3 I use most often. While I'm sewing up these eyelids, I just wanted to say thank you for coming around. If you're here and watching my videos, I really appreciate it. I have thought for a really long time that I would like to record my embroidery or any of my artistic things that I like to do for YouTube to watch, just because I really enjoy the idea of putting my work out there in video form, because I know that I like to watch creative videos that people make, including a lot of what I watch is I watch embroidery videos, I watch a lot of bullet journaling, I watch a lot of like DIY stuff, I guess. But embroidery is definitely my number one. It's what I make on Etsy, on my Etsy shop. Here I'm starting to work on the ears, and this is a very tedious, time-consuming process. I really enjoy threading the ears the way I do, I suppose. I'm not really sure how to define it. I go from the outside of the ear to the inner part of the ear in many, many, many tiny, tiny satin stitches. I just think this gives the ears much more dimension. and I think it looks a lot cuter. I don't know, something about the roundness of the ear, this type of stitch, and the way I'm formatting it, I suppose, is just one of my favorite things to do. I think it just looks really, really nice. Here I am starting on the second ear. It's actually, doing these little ears it's probably one of my favorite parts as well. I just really enjoy the simplicity, I suppose, of continuously making the same kind of stitch over and over again. It's pretty enjoyable for me, funnily enough. If you see that little strawberry on my embroidery hoop and wondering what it is, well, do I have news for you? That little strawberry is a magnet. It's a two-piece magnet. The strawberry itself is magnetized, and then there's a tiny magnet on the other side that goes on the bottom part of, I guess, the underside of the fabric. And it is what I use to keep my needles in place when I am not necessarily using them, or if I've put a project off to the side for a little bit, or I take a break or something along those lines. It's a really good place, a really good way for me to not lose my needles, which is something that I'm doing all of the time. So sorry for my giant head in the way during the shot. This really makes me think about how I need to dye my roots, but anyway, this is an embroidery video, not a hair tutorial. So, we're about 6-7 minutes in, which I believe is about, let's see, about an hour and a half perhaps I've spent on what's here. As I've said before, embroidery is a very time-consuming process, and that's why it's always been kind of difficult for me to record it, because my current camera SD card is not powerful enough to record videos for more than 20 to 30 minutes, which 20 minutes is like nothing when you're embroidering. Honestly, it's like 20 minutes is like, I don't know, a few knots, I guess. Oh, and my camera fell over, I suppose, but we're still going. Earlier, we went pretty quickly. I believe I was talking over it, of course, and on the middle of Sable's little face, she's got these little freckles, and for those, I did a bunch of little French knots. French knots are a really great way to get kind of like a texture and height, I suppose. It gives you a little bit of different variety within your embroidery, and I think it's a really simple way to I don't know, I guess give more dimension to your work, and it stands out a little bit. French knots are essentially the same way I tie knots on the back, just a little different, I suppose. Well, I don't know why they're both called French knots. That's pretty interesting, actually. They're not that similar, I suppose. But anyway, to do that, you basically put the needle through, and then you hold onto the thread and wrap the needle around the thread behind it as many times as you want to, depending on how thick you want your little circle to be. And then you put it back through the fabric, holding onto the thread that is making the little loops, and the loops should all come together into kind of like a little circle knot. They're pretty difficult to do. I would recommend watching a video and not trying to do it based on my poor explanation, but there you go, I suppose. What am I doing now? I'm working on her little hair. I think she's a hedgehog. I'm actually not totally sure. If you're not familiar with Animal Crossing, it is a video game series that has many different installments from Nintendo, and basically you play as, whatever character you would like to be, but you are human, weirdly enough. And everyone else in the town that you live in is an animal, and there are hundreds of different animals and villagers and shopkeepers and things like that live in your town and, you know, talk to you and you can be friends with and things like that. And Sable here runs the clothing shop with her sister Abel. Or wait, no, Mabel, sorry. Sable Abel is her full name, and then Mabel Abel is the other one. And I think they're hedgehogs. Actually, I'm curious. I'm gonna look that up. Because I've never actually looked before. But now I'm moving on to her body. I've done the tail and the arms. Sable's a little bit different because she actually is mostly one color, which is not usually a thing. She is a hedgehog, by the way. If you were curious about that, she is a hedgehog, like I thought. But she doesn't have a whole lot of colors in her design, which is strange for Animal Crossing because I happen to find, because I've done a lot of these, this is what I do, basically part-time. I sell commissions of my Animal Crossing embroideries, and most of the time there's a lot of intricate markings and designs and colors, and Sable was pretty easy. There wasn't that many colors with her, which was nice, but sometimes having patterns is a nice way to show the different body parts, if that makes sense. I've moved on to her other leg. This is all still satin stitches. I have been doing this kind of Animal Crossing embroidery for a long time now, and it's pretty popular on Etsy. If you are interested in commissioning me for perhaps your favorite villager or your own personal character, I can do that as well. Check the description and you will see a link to my Etsy page where I will have a listing for custom Animal Crossing embroidery. So if you're interested in perhaps something for yourself or a gift for your friend, someone who really likes Animal Crossing, that's a place to go. So we are getting close to the end of our first part, just because these videos would be too long and I'm not really that experienced with video editing or filming, so decided to do this one in parts because I thought it would make it a little bit easier. So we're coming up towards the end on this part. I'm starting working on her little face. It's kind of hard to see because this color, at least on camera, matches a lot with the fabric background, but the fabric itself is a very light off-white, an eggshell color, I suppose. And the color I'm using right now in the center of her face is the Crew color from DMC, which is more of a tan, so it's a little bit darker than the fabric itself, but you know, can't be too picky about the way camera picks up colors. That's just how it is. So I'm starting with her face, still doing satin stitches. Most everything from here on out is satin stitches, actually. And just going from one side to the other, and then back and back and back and back, over and over and over again. It's very soothing. I mean, I know a lot of people who I've heard that I do embroidery and they're pretty amazed by the amount of patience they think I have, but honestly, I'm not, this isn't something that's super patience needing, I suppose. This is really soothing for me to do and I really enjoy doing it. So there's me and my computer, of course. Could not do this without watching anything. I think that's the downside there, is I have not a short attention span, but I just need something in the background. But yeah, we're coming up to the end of the video, so thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in the next one, then let me know. And let's see now. Oh, here is where my camera falls on the ground, and I decide to take a break. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.